Uh, I'm George Demiris. I'm one of the PIs for the PennAITech, and it's my great honor to introduce our keynote for this session, Dr. Pattie Maes, who is the Germeshausen Professor of Media Arts and Sciences at the MIT Media Lab. She runs the Fluid Interfaces Research Group, which does research at the intersection of human-computer interaction and artificial intelligence, with a focus on applications in health, well-being, and learning. Dr. Maes is also a faculty member in MIT's Center for Neurobiological Engineering. She is particularly interested in the topic of cognitive enhancement, or how wearable, immersive, and brain-computer interface systems can actively assist people with issues such as memory, attention, learning, decision-making, communication, well-being, and sleep. She has received numerous awards and honors and honorary doctorates, and in addition to her academic endeavors, Dr. Maes has been an active entrepreneur as co-founder of several venture-backed companies. So with that, thank you very much. I'm looking forward to your presentation.
So, good afternoon, everybody. So my background is in artificial intelligence and wearables. And so I've been interested for over 30 years in how we can basically augment people and support their cognition with and their well-being with wearable devices. And for the last 5 or so years, I've become increasingly interested, maybe because of myself getting old as well and seeing my mother age gracefully, in the topic of aging and what wearables and AI can do there. So can we see the slides a little bit bigger, because due to my age, my sight isn't good enough to read them. Thank you. If I can just see one slide per on the monitor, that would be great. Thank you. Much better. Okay, so I don't have to tell all of you our aging population is growing and our cognitive abilities decline sort of drastically. From the age of 60, you see their ability for doing inductive reasoning, spatial orientation, perception, speed, numerical ability, verbal ability, and memory, and so on, all going drastically down from the age of 60 on. And recently, of course, or not so recently, this amazing new technology has started to blossoming of AI. So which I was trained in over 30 years ago. And that sort of led me to think, well, can we actually build AI, generative AI-based devices that help people with this cognitive decline and help them maybe support them in still sort of keeping their abilities at a certain level where they can still live independently in their own homes safely and so on. So our new president, Sally Kornbluth at MIT, started a large-scale initiative around the impact of generative AI. And with funding from that initiative, we decided to start by organizing some workshops to co-design solutions for older adults. I didn't really realize how challenging it would be to organize a conference like this with people aged 70 to 94 in attendance. Some of them didn't find the garage again afterwards and so on. So there were some challenges. But it was really rewarding to engage in a co-design experience, to let them speak about what it is they want, what needs they have, and what their desired features are of generative AI-powered wearables. So we focused on cognitive challenges, not physical challenges. Things like memory decline, attention problems, reasoning capabilities, problem solving, multitasking, language, communication, and more. And we engaged them in this very interactive exercise where we basically wanted to come up with their needs and concerns and ideas around how Gen AI could help them, as well as then design some prototypes, paper-based prototypes of wearables that could help them with these issues. We ran several workshops. In a first workshop, we came up with a whole set of scenarios, and we asked the older adults to talk about the problems that they encountered in those types of scenarios. So we created these big context cards, like you're meeting with your younger kids, or you're hanging out with some friends at a park, or you're revisiting some old memories and so on. And those were meant to sort of make them think of needs and concerns and problems that they encounter in their daily lives with all of these issues of communication, memory, attention, reasoning, and more. And based on those context cards, we had a whole set of them. They storyboarded possible solutions. And I should say, we first actually gave them a little primer on wearables and on generative AI and what is possible these days with these types of technologies. So they came up with storyboards for systems that would help them with real world or real daily needs that they've encountered in their lives. And we then sort of discussed those in groups and voted on the ones that people sort of resonated with the most, etc. We have a whole paper on this that I can send to people that are interested. But the main areas of opportunities that people asked for were health assistance and monitoring was one, and helping them not just with, say, keeping track of some health data, but really their whole health trajectory and meetings with their doctor and remembering what the doctor had talked about and things like that, and things they should be on the watch for and so on. Memory assistance was another major area of need. Assistance with communication, as well as technology learning and troubleshooting, seems to be a very common need that they all were very interested in. Of course, they had considerations and concerns as well for any technology that we would design. Privacy and security was the most important consideration. Accessibility, of course, it should be cheap and easy to use and so on. They wanted emotional intelligence in these devices, and what they meant by that was that these experiences should be designed in a way that really accommodates for their limitations and their frustrations and so on. For example, the fact that sometimes things need to be repeated or that need to be communicated much more slowly than to younger people and so on. And they also wanted to make sure that we wouldn't design solutions that would supplant or replace their human contact. The goal was really to complement sort of the human individuals in their lives that help with their care and safety and well-being. What was interesting is that you don't have to understand this figure, but basically what it says is that their degree of concern about privacy was actually proportional to or inversely proportional to the seriousness of the need. They were saying, if I'm in a critical condition, I don't care about privacy. Just give all my data away right there and then to somebody that shows up at my house. But of course, for other things like fixing technology or something, they wanted the privacy concerns to be much stricter. So their desire for privacy was actually dependent on the context. So using sort of these prototypes that we already had been building, but that we then further refined also, and some new ones that we came up with in these workshops, we have been prototyping, doing repeated improvements on prototypes for different types of AI-powered wearables that can assist with some of these needs. One system is called MemPal. It's a memory assistant, basically, that consists just of a phone with a camera, as well as bone conduction speakers, commercial bone conduction speakers, so that you have continuous conversational access to an AI agent that can help the person with physical tasks. And I'll show in a minute how that system works. Maybe I'll skip this. As you all know, there's already some wearables on the market and some just products, non-digital products on the market to help people with memory needs and other safety issues. But those usually have a very limited use case, like for example, remembering which pills to use when or to take when and so on. While the exciting thing about generative AI, of course, is that one device could actually do a lot of things and really help people in a much broader way with a lot of different tasks. So this MemPal system, basically what it does is all day long, you wear it in your home and it captures pictures every couple of seconds of what it is that you're doing with your hands, so that the system knows she's picking up a glass. She's drinking from the glass. She puts a glass down on the wooden pedestal, etc. It basically uses multimodal AI, vision-based system to basically interpret the pictures of what a person is doing with their hands all day long and creates a huge diary of all the actions taken by the person. And that diary can then be used basically to query for lost objects, for example. Like if later you forget where you put down your glass, you can say, where did I put down my water glass? And the system can say, you last put it down on the wooden pedestal. Things like that. In that particular room, it knows which room of the house you're in, etc. You can ask things like, did I already take my medication? Or it can actually remind you to take your medication. You can put in if-then rules for the system, like every morning, if she hasn't taken her medication or he hasn't taken his medication by 9 a.m., issue a reminder to take the medication, things like that. What is nice, of course, is that same information can be provided to caregivers to reduce the stress of family members, for example. So we can provide summaries at a certain level of detail that the individual is comfortable with, that say like, oh, your mother had 3 good meals today and she went out for half an hour on a walk and she did forget to turn off the stove once, etc. So these summaries can be provided to reduce caregiver anxiety, and potentially these summaries could also enable physicians with detailed information about how the person is doing. We haven't explored that aspect of the system yet, but we have explored the other use cases. So here you see what this looks like. You have that first-person perspective from the camera that the person wears, and the system is constantly building up this knowledge base, or this diary of actions taken by the user in specific rooms. You start by onboarding the system, telling it about the different rooms in the house so that the system can recognize those rooms. And so like saying this is the dining room, etc. Oops, that went a little bit fast. And then if you misplace an object, you can basically issue a query. Where did I put my keys? Where did I put something else? And the system can say it is next to your teapot in the kitchen, or similar types of locations. You can also put these if-then rules in the system. So you can actually say, for example, whenever I'm in the kitchen and I've turned on the stove, remind me when I leave the kitchen to turn off the stove, things like that. And of course, caregivers can put in these rules as well. We actually tested this.
Misplace something. You know that you've had it recently, and then you can't find it.
So far we tested with 15 people in their own homes.
Kitchen.
So that's the initial onboarding you have to do. The system logged that he put his wedding ring up there.
Your ring was last seen in the kitchen inside a white cabinet next to cups, with a window and plants on the right.
So we tested it by having people hide a whole bunch of objects in their own homes one day and then coming back the next day to see whether they could find all the objects and how well they did with or without the system. Of course, we also tested some of the safety reminders and so on.
You know, be positive from the standpoint of I can find something quicker. I mean, it's assisting your memory.
Memory is of utmost
Sorry, a little
importance,
louder.
and I want to keep my memory as long as I can.
You get the idea. So yeah, there's the activity diary, where we employ actually another machine learning model to recognize higher level activities like making breakfast, etc. We tested this in 15 people's homes so far and showed that it helped them with finding objects and how long it took them to find the objects. They found more of them and quicker. They also gave us a lot of feedback on how easy to use it was or not, and so on. There's definitely a lot of features that can be improved. The speech recognition and voice was way too fast. They want the system to learn about habits that they have and assisting their habits. They wanted assistance with multi-step tasks, reminding them to do the next thing in a series of steps that complete a larger goal, etc. So lots of further questions need to be answered, and we continue to work on this system in collaboration with some places like LaSalle Village in Newton, which is a senior living facility. Another system that we built in parallel, and ultimately the two could be combined, and which we're actually starting a 4-week trial with at LaSalle Village, is just a voice-based memory augmentation system. So this system, as you'll see, does the following. Okay. Yeah, I think it's not. So you see the text. So it's again wearable headphones that don't cover your hearing of other noises, and a phone which records, and it can actually be a watch as well. We've used the Samsung watch as well for the same experiment, to record all conversations. The system now recognizes the voice of another speaker and will first ask if it's a new person whether you have consent to record. Loud.
So we invest in biotech startups that help with rare diseases, but you should reach out to your investors.
Thank you. I will. Oh wait, what was his name again?
Robert.
So you have a ring and you can ask the system for help anytime you're forgetting something. It predicts what information you need from your own memory.
So once you're done with your walking, can you please get a dozen of eggs and a packet of bread and about 6 bananas, please?
Okay.
Okay, see you soon. Bye.
Bye. I don't know the third thing. I forgot.
Bananas.
So again, you get the idea of that system. I'm going to skip these slides quickly. Sorry, we are no longer looking for a community. We're working with LaSalle Village, but always interested in other senior living facilities where we can test these systems. And we have extended the study to 4 weeks. So we're giving the residents there these devices, and they will use them all day long. It's, of course, a paid study and approved by the IRB of the university. And we will see how they use these systems. We've implemented a lot of other features. So you can, for example, issue reminders to yourself, like remind me to turn the lights off at 8 o'clock, things like that. And the system will do that as well. But what is really nice is that you just use natural language. You say your instructions whichever way you want, sort of, and the system will look up that information from your personal memory using a RAG-based AI method to help you in a particular moment. One of the interesting use cases, apart from memory augmentation, that we came across in our workshops is that of speech simplification. So we invited all these older adults to MIT, and we realized when my students were giving presentations about what AI can do these days, we realized that they couldn't process at the speed that my students were talking at. And it wasn't just because they were MIT students or something, but they asked for transcription. Of course, some of them also have hearing issues and so on, but it wasn't just a hearing issue. It was also just the speed of speech processing. So we started looking into this and learned that, again, the ability to understand and process speech decreases with age. So both speed, complexity, memory required for, say, long sentences and so on, all decrease with age. And so we started thinking of a solution for this, basically either in the form of glasses with a microphone speaker or in the form of earbuds. We built an agent that does real-time translation of some speech that you hear, but it does it again from English to English, but simplifying the language. So you can basically listen or watch a TV show that is say a little bit going too fast or whatever, and you hear, and it could possibly even imitate the voice of the speakers as well. So you hear a simplified version of the same content as the other people that say are listening or watching the show. So again, we have been testing this and are trying to make the system lower latency so that these people don't fall behind. We try to make sure that the AI translates into simpler language without or while maintaining the meaning. And it is really all enabled sort of by cutting edge developments in AI and wearable devices. We heard earlier about the big problem of loneliness, especially among older adults. It's actually not just a problem for older adults. 1 in 3 adults feel lonely, but for older community dwelling adults, it's 1 out of 2. And loneliness is associated with poor mental and physical health. Of course, it may be that because of the poor mental and physical abilities that people become more lonely because they have fewer opportunities to socialize. And what we have been doing is looking at solutions, again, on wearables and on using generative AI to reduce loneliness in older adults by enhancing the quality of their social relationships. So loneliness is defined as the subjective feeling of isolation, regardless of a true social network. So people can be married and lonely, for example, or not married and not lonely, things like that. So there's many reasons why people may have this subjective feeling of isolation. It can be because your relationships aren't high enough quality, or you don't have the ability to connect with your friends frequently enough, and more. So what we have been designing is systems that increase the frequency of human social interaction and improve the sort of the quality of these interactions, so that ultimately older adults have less of this feeling of loneliness and isolation, which hopefully will even have positive impact on their physical and mental health. So the systems we have been building in-house are, again, based on chatbots, but again, they maintain a memory of the user and their social interactions, so that your chatbot knows who all your friends and family members are, when you last talked to them, and also what you talked about the last time you spoke with them. And the system actually helps or supports in maintaining stronger social relationships by both proposing interactions, like saying, your friend said she would get surgery on April 1st. Why don't you check in with her, because it's April 3rd today, and see how she's doing? Things like that. So it reminds you of opportunities to reach out to your friends about things that they've talked about in the past. It also reminds you, just if you haven't reached out to a close friend in a while, and so on. And one of the nice features is that the system remembers your conversations with other people and can then help you with summaries and say, last time you spoke, this is all the things that you talked about, which can help older adults, because often they don't reach out to friends purely because they're embarrassed that they are not going to remember everything that was talked about before. So again, chatbots with a user model, I think, have great potential to help the person in a much more useful way. We received funding from the RRF Foundation. Maybe they're here at the conference, I'm not sure. But so we will be doing a large-scale study. We're starting actually by looking just at ChatGPT use and what effect it has on the well-being of older adults. I didn't include the slides, but you may have seen we got a lot of press for it. We just finished a study with OpenAI on looking at the social and emotional impact of ChatGPT usage, not for older adults, but for the general population. And it's actually very interesting. The results show that ChatGPT can make you feel less lonely, but at the same time, on average, we saw that people who used it socialized less with humans. So we saw a trend there for socializing, possibly socializing with the chatbot. We don't know whether it's really a cause and effect situation, but we definitely saw in this 4-week study where people interacted with ChatGPT every day. That was the condition, the study. We noticed that people felt less lonely, but they also socialized a little bit less with people. We also analyzed in that ChatGPT study, which you can look up the results if you Google it, MIT OpenAI loneliness. We noticed that different models, different AI models, actually act very differently, and some of them are more pro-social. Some of them are better at sort of encouraging people to reach out to people rather than talking to the AI, while some of them actually had some anti-social behaviors and were not necessarily supporting the person in their human socializing. So together with RRF, we have this 2-year study now to do a similar study first for older adults with ChatGPT, and to then design more pro-social chatbots that really help you and support you in maintaining higher quality relationships. So yeah, compared to existing interventions, we think that solutions like this will be a lot more accessible, affordable, always available, etc. So it's really a really exciting time, I think, to be working on this. So let's see, details of that study. So we will again, in the ChatGPT study, test hundreds of people, older adults, 70 and up, in using ChatGPT, as well as different versions of the model to see sort of what effects there are on their emotional and social well-being. So yeah, those are just some of the things we're doing at the MIT Media Lab. We also work in sleep, thanks to Dr. Honpak's support of our work. I didn't include that in the presentation now, but happy to talk about that a little bit as well. Thank you.